Well, we've been reporting on the dismantling of the Occupy Wall Street occupations from around the country for months now. But all the while, the one right here in Washington, D.C., a few blocks from this studio, has remained standing. That is, until now. As you can see, over the weekend, police in riot gear surrounded the camp. They were also wearing hazmat gear. They went to McPherson Square and cleared many of the tents there in an effort to begin enforcing a long-standing no camping ban. This came nearly a week after issuing eviction notices to the occupiers. The National Park Police had maintained a pretty good relationship with campers, both here at McPherson Square and down the street at Freedom Plaza. But complaints about noise and rodents became more prevalent, and early last week, Park Police said they'd be getting involved after more than 4 months of allowing this camp to stand. Now, this was one of the movement's last sites in the country. So we want to talk today about what's next for the movement as a whole. And let's go to Andrew Blake, who's here in studio with me. He's part of our RT web team and also the person who shot that video that we saw there.
Yeah.
You were in the thick of things over the weekend. I guess just kind of give me your impressions.
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head. The movement started off in New York, obviously, but when it moved down to D.C., I was at McPherson on the first day that they started doing it there. And it has been peaceful for the last almost 4 or 5 months now at this point. But this weekend, things just kind of went a little crazy. It started off incredibly peaceful on Saturday, too, but over the course of a couple of hours, things kind of just got, the best way to describe it was weird.
You said you got there like Saturday afternoon-ish, and
yeah.
Things were pretty mellow.
I was actually taking my time getting down there because it was so mellow. I was checking with people, and they're saying nothing's going to happen. The National Park Police were very systematically going through the tents, getting rid of the tents, and there wasn't that much of a big to-do happening. But around 4 or 5 o'clock, it started getting dark, it started raining, and within a matter of minutes, things just went crazy. The mood changed entirely. The cops just came through in full force, knocking people over. I was hit several times myself. I saw people have their hands bashed in. The guy next to me took a baton to the stomach and toppled over crying. And it all within a matter of minutes, it escalated to that. But before we knew it, there were people on the ground screaming, crying, blood, and then it was over.
Wow.
It ended just like that.
I mean, and for people who have been following some of the police brutality aspect of the Occupy Wall Street movement, it's really important to emphasize, because if you saw what happened in New York and Oakland, this might be surprising to you, but every time I've gone down to either Freedom Plaza or McPherson Square, there's a very diplomatic relationship between police and the campers. They work together, they're peaceful, but what we saw here in the video that we just were showing that you shot, that was very, very different from what we've been seeing here in Washington.
I've been experiencing the exact same thing over the last couple of months, and even early on Saturday, cops were being talkative to the crowd, they were joking, everything was kind of just nice. And then a few hours later, there was kind of this like Altamont moment where something bad happened, and all of a sudden everything bad started happening from there. Like I said, within a matter of minutes, they just came through. I guess earlier in the day, there were reports that there was a police injury. I haven't really seen what happened or who it happened to or if it even happened, but that's what we heard on the scene, and minutes later, things just started going nuts.
And we've heard that between 4 and 11 people were arrested down there at McPherson Square. Were you able to see any of these arrests happening? And if so, what were the people being arrested for?
You could just hear it happen. Police, once things started getting wild, they tried to cover up as much as they could. I was actually told to put down my camera several times. I was there with my press pass and shooting as much as I could, and I had cops grab me by the camera, hit my camera. At one point, a cop was wrestling with my hand and trying to throw me to the ground. And like I said, I got hit a few times, but anytime that journalists tried covering what was happening, they were just shot down, it seemed, as quickly as they could. And if the police weren't using physical force, they were going right up to the scene to stop people from seeing exactly what was happening. And towards the end, when things went nuts, cops lined up, say around 50 wide, and just started moving in to make sure no one could see anything that was happening. And that was an area that wasn't even tented. They just cleaned the park out like a bulldozer of humans wielding batons,
Wow.
if you want to call them humans.
And that is certainly something that is not unique to this area. Occupations from around the country, journalists trying to cover just what's happening, trying to stay out of the way, but really get as close as possible so they get what they can on camera. They've been bullied, they've been badgered, they've been arrested. I mean, you were wearing your press badge. You've been a journalist here at RT for quite a while now, and yet they were, I mean, talk a little bit about this. I know that you've spoken with other journalists down there.
Well, we've seen stories, like I said, in Oakland and New York City. I've read and wrote and watched countless tales of journalists going there and saying that the police action was just ridiculous. And I kind of didn't want to believe it to the extent that I was told was happening. And all of a sudden, on Saturday, all of a sudden, I realized I was there. I was living what all these people have been telling me was happening in New York, what all these people were saying was happening in Oakland. Within a matter of minutes, they just came through, and they had no regard for what was happening to the crowd. And if journalists were trying to document that, they were just told to turn around. And when they started using force, you started to question, like, wow, this is what journalists can do in America and what they can't do? It's just wild.
It's so interesting, and as we speak, from what I understand, in Oakland, a lot of the Occupy Oakland members are, they've been sort of doing several actions all day long, and one of the things that they're going to do in about an hour from now is march down to court to stand in solidarity with a lot of the people that have been arrested there. But I guess, talk to me about, I mean, I know we're a long way from Oakland, but you've spoken a lot with some of the occupiers here in D.C. and in New York. What are people planning? What's next now that this long-standing camp has been dismantled?
That's a great question. Obviously, New York was the hub that started it all back in September, and D.C. followed only weeks later. And up until this week, D.C. was now the longest-standing occupation in a city of this size. And on Saturday, within a couple of hours, the whole camp was dismantled. And then on Sunday, they came through to Freedom Plaza down the street and managed to largely dismantle that one, too. And protesters were saying, you know, we're going to be back. We're going to come back. This isn't going to stop us. But what actions they're going to take next, you really don't know, especially after seeing, like, people brutally beaten and hurt and bloodied on the streets of D.C. the other day. Are people going to become outraged and start to fight back? Are people going to be outraged and start to rebuild their encampment? Or are people going to be outraged and just kind of see what happens? But let's hope it's something positive this time around.
All right. Well, I'm sure you'll be down there keeping us posted. And for any of us who work here at RT, this is something that we see every day, and it is also just a couple footsteps from the White House. RT web writer Andrew Blake, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.